Okay, let's have a look at a beautiful insight on the parasha from the Maor V'Shemesh. He points out on a seemingly innocuous verse in the parasha, it says, Adonai Eloheinu diber Eleinu b'chorev lemor rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh. Hashem, our God, spoke to us at the mountain at Horeb and said, long enough have you stayed at this mountain. Rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh. And you'll see that the Torah carries on to say how Hashem has commanded us, move, get going, start going, let's go, enough sitting next to this mountain. So let's have a look at the insight from the Maor Shemesh, or Shemesh. He says something very beautiful. Hashem Elokeinu diber aleinu b'chorev. Hashem spoke to us in Chorev. He says, Rav lachem sheves bahar hazeh. Enough time sitting by this mountain. Panu usa'u. Go. Lachem vo har ha'amori. And go to har ha'amori. Hine. Yesh lahavin. Ma ze lemor. Haksiv beferish Hashem Elokeinu diber aleinu b'chorev v'lama li shuv teves lemor. If you look at the previous verse prior to this one, it already says that God spoke to us. Why does it have to repeat the phrase and God spoke to us? Ha'inyan hu kach. This is the deep teaching that is going to be very relevant for us. The Isa b'Gemara, the Sukkah. It's brought in the Gemara in Sukkah. La'asid lavoy. In the future, listen to this. Maybe a Yetzer Hara. They're going to bring the Yetzer Hara. And they're going to shecht the Yetzer Hara. Going to shecht it. Like they shecht an animal. L'tzadikim nidme lehem kahar. And what will happen? For the righteous, the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, will appear like a mountain. But to the wicked, it will look like a strand of hair. Very unique. And both camps will cry. Both the righteous and the wicked will cry. Yesh lahavin. We have to try and understand. Lama be'emes la'elo nira lahar, v'la'elo nira l'sa'ar. Why is it that to the righteous it looks like a mountain, and to the wicked it looks like a strand of hair? Okay, this is a Gemara. Eila ha'inyan hu kach. This is the deep teaching. It seems to people, everyone in their own circumstances, that they have something in their way, that they have something that's preventing them from serving God, from attaining a state of consciousness, from being tapped in. And for some individuals, it's their parnasa. Some have obligations. Everyone has their circumstances of troubles. But in truth, for the true servants of Hashem, those who are referred to as the truly righteous, there essentially is nothing in the way for a righteous individual. They look at the manias. The manias are all these stumbling blocks, all of these things that look like mountains, and to them it looks like hay, stacks of hay, easily able to be circumspect. That's the wrong word. To be overcome. And to some it looks like to them it's a big mountain, but to them it doesn't look so big. Even a massive mountain to a righteous person does not look like a mountain. It looks like a small little mound. the sa'ar, ba'aloma, and it looks almost like a strand of hair, something that they can pick out. So now this is a very, very important concept initially to start off with. And that is, there are so many things in our lives that we blow out of proportion. And I'm sure if you look back into the circumstances of your life and the details of your life and the things that you turned into a mountain, and I include myself in this, the things that we look at and we say, Gewalt, how on earth am I going to overcome this? How on earth am I going to get through this? This is such a massive mountain. And not only is it a massive mountain, but we become stagnant. We become individuals that now camp by this mountain. We say we can't move from this mountain. It's impossible to get through this mountain. For a person who's tapped into Hashem, for a person that's tapped into the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they feel connected. They want to be connected. To them, it just seems like a strand of hair. They know that with one ease, that Hashem is able to remove this mountain and allow them through. Lefichach, lehefech, and he says something very crazy. He says that the opposite is true for the wicked. So for the righteous, the ones that are able to say, yes, I know this looks impossible. I know that this is something that you feel like you can't overcome. But the righteous come along and say, whatever Hashem wants me to do, I can do and I will overcome. I can do it. If this is something that's in front of me, that Hashem has placed in front of me, I can do this. And it's like a strand of hair. But for the wicked, it says, the opposite is true. Even, this is crazy, even a small infringement, a small circumstance that looks like a strand of hair, it seems to them like a massive mountain, impenetrable, unable to be overcome. And what does it do to them? Finito. Causes them to completely give up. Causes them to say, I've had enough. Causes them to say, gosh, whatever I'm feeling now is too much. I can't do anything, and I give up. And they somewhat expire by this supposed mountain that exists. Hasar merem lehem gedoyle shebgedoyle shmenias hu hay rak khut sara fil hay roit lam knegel tzadik marem loy shi har gavoy ba fa piken lo yeshkia khala nechshalav keteven mesar nim semish shegia la vodas Hashem beemes. So he says, and that's really the explanation of what will be when the Yetzer Hara, our evil inclination, our ego, is taken out and slaughtered in front of our eyes. And we'll perceive all of those moments that we said, gosh, we have to get angry here. Or gosh, this is just something I'm going to give up on, and I'm going to become despondent and depressed. And I'm going to become lazy, and I'm just going to give up in my circumstance. I'm not going to persevere and overcome this. In the future, Hashem will show it to us, and it's going to seem like a strand of hair. What were you so upset about? This is something you could have overcome. You made this into too much. And the opposite is true. That to the righteous, they're going to look and say, wow, I can't believe the things that I actually had to overcome. And to me, it seemed like a strand of hair. A righteous person tapped in, they're able to look at these mountains and say, gosh, I know this looks like a mountain in front of my eyes. This looks like Mount Everest quadrupled. It's impossible what this seems like in front of me. How am I meant to overcome this? But the Me'or V'Shemesh is saying, Rav Lachem, Se'u. He says, travel from here. And this is really the meaning of the verse. If we look at the verse carefully, Hashem is speaking to us very directly, saying, you have stayed long enough at this mountain. And the fundamental words that we have to look at is the words Rav Lachem. Rav Lachem means you have a lot in you. You have undermined yourself. You have not even begun to reveal the strength and the ability that you have to overcome the mountain that's in front of you. Stop sitting at that mountain and go. If you have to go around, if you have to go up and over, and even if you have to tunnel through, Hashem has given you the koiches to be able to go and circumvent that mountain. And that's essentially the teaching here. That when Moses is speaking out this teaching that Hashem spoke to us, it's an awakening for every single one of us to realize the circumstances that are in front of us are overcomable. They're able to be circumvented. They're able to go through. And I'll share with you a final story, which I heard from the grandson of the Bluzhev Rebbe, a famous Rebbe. You might know him from the Hasidic tales from the Holocaust. And there's a tale there, or a story that's told initially, right from the beginning of the book, beautiful book. And it speaks about the Rebbe standing in one of the death camps. And there's a massive ditch in front of them. And the Nazis, Iyamach Shemam, are pointing to the Jews, saying that you must jump over this. And everyone's looking at each other saying, it's impossible. If we jump, we fall and die. It's impossible to jump over this. What do you want from us? And the Bluzhev Rebbe took one individual's hands and he says, hold my hand, we will jump together. And he says, but it's impossible. How are we meant to jump? Even one of us to jump, and now both of us should hold hands? And miraculously, the story is told, and the Bluzhev Rebbe survived the Holocaust. He survived the death camps. He was able to make it over this hole. He was able to survive and carry this individual with him over the hole. And after this circumstance, this individual turned to the Bluzhev Rebbe and said, how did you do it? How did you jump over this hole? And he says he was holding on to the hands of Hashem. And same too, in our lives, we have ditches, we have circumstances that we are sometimes positioned to jump over. Nothing like the circumstances that the Yidden had to go through in the Holocaust and in other circumstances, Baruch Hashem, that we don't have such trying circumstances. But we do have situations in life that look like mountains. And we have to understand we have a huge koyach in front of us, a huge strength in front of us that is able to give us the ability to really go over those mountains and not become complacent and stagnant and sit there and wallow in our circumstance. And that's essentially the teaching as we approach Tisha B'Av and we approach Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos of sight and vision, is really to regain our vision of life, to be able to understand that all of the things that we've somewhat positioned in front of us, saying, I can't overcome this. I'm not going to be able to overcome this. This is a circumstance now to say, I can overcome this. This is something that I'm going to persevere through and above or go beyond. And that's essentially the teaching from the Me'or V'Shemesh on the parasha. So it should be with bracha, chevra, wishing you a lot of bracha and simcha and koyach. I'll just open up if anyone has any comments or questions that they want to share about the teaching, anything that you want to engage with here. Your turn now. Carol.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I'd like to just share a story.
Please do.
Honest, is when in the year 2000, when my husband lost the business and we lost everything. And we were busy leaving our house and we were all distraught. And we all thought, what's happening to us? We've lost everything. We've got nothing. And I just saw this huge mountain. And I'll never forget, I cried. And when I got to the bathroom and I saw how my face looked, I looked at myself and I thought, but you are the person who you are. And these circumstances may look huge, but you have Hashem. I mean, He's the owner of this universe. So when my husband and my kids came home, I said to them, we're not going to allow our circumstances to define us. We are going to define our circumstances. And every day, we're not going to look at what's wrong or what's bad or how hard it is. We're going to look for what's good, what we're learning, how we're growing. And that is how we will get through this, is by being positive and trusting that we have some lesson to learn from this and only take the good with us. And that's what happened.
Beautiful, beautiful, Carol. Thank you so much. A beautiful example of this teaching, you know, that we can be confronted, God forbid, with such a massive mountain. And you're saying that essentially to look yourself in the face and say, 1 second, you're here. Hashem is here, holding your hand. Don't lose hope. You can really overcome this. And it can really be taken in the most, you know, enormous circumstances and even in the most minute circumstances. You know, I used this twice today in 2 circumstances. You know, one where, you know, I was going for a run and I was saying to myself, Gewalt, you know, I can't push myself further. I can't do anything more. I can't. And I said to myself, Rav Lachem, come on, you have so much inside of you. What are you undermining yourself for and becoming stagnant and lazy? Push yourself. You know, very simple, very, you know, basic interpretation here or application. But we can really take this in many, many circumstances to understand we have unlimited strength. We have a neshama inside of us. We have a godliness inside of us. We are able to overcome so much. And Hashem is really within us, behind us, around us, in every single thing that we do. And Hashem should really be able to reveal, we should be able to reveal that those mountains in front of us that look like mountains are essentially strands of hair that we're able to overcome, move out of the side, and not be stopped by in our service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So thank you for sharing that, Carol. Any final points there before we end off? All right, dear friends, thank you so much. It's so nice to see you. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you all. And it should just be with a beautiful bracha. It should be a beautiful and insightful Shabbos full of illumination and elevation. And we'll see you, God willing, next week. And sending you lots of love. All the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Rabbi. That was amazing.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.